Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, you are in the meeting now. There are 13 participants in the meeting.
I'll forward this.
Well, the phone is fine. That's fine. Let's not
Yeah.
wait for me. Go ahead.
Should I say then that we officially started here at 12:06 then, or
Yes.
still keep it?
Well,
Okay.
12:06, 12:07.
Okay, I'll put 12:07.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready for roll?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Batimana,
Here.
Commissioner Boyd,
Here.
Commissioner Guster,
Here.
and Commissioner Karp, I believe is gone. Commissioner Pecora,
Here.
Commissioner Swanberg,
Here.
and Commissioner Transu, myself. So we have 6 of the 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then everybody got a chance to look at the agenda. Need a motion for that.
Don't move.
This is Janelle. I noticed that in the minutes from our last month that it, I think Mike moved and it was seconded and passed that we would table the policing reforms until this meeting. So I think policing reform should be on this agenda.
Although Rabbi Karp's not here today.
I understand, but I think when we say we're going to put something on the agenda for next month, it ought to be on the agenda, and then we can table it again if we need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would think that should be added.
Yeah, let's go ahead and add it, and then we can table it if we need to.
So do we have a motion to add the policing report and
We don't have to have a motion. It was already requested during the last meeting that it be added. So we'll just put it on there, and if we need to reschedule it or something when we get to that particular point, then we can do so at that time.
okay. So technically we have an update to the agenda.
Yeah, so I
So-
guess it would be under old business.
So we don't need a motion in a second to add that?
No, because it was requested during the last meeting.
Okay,
Okay. Even if it's not here? All right.
It's already in the minutes and stuff, so.
All right, so we still need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I second.
Okay.
okay.
And then we, what was I going to, everybody who's in favor to approve the agenda with, adding that, the police reform, say aye or raise their hand.
Madam Chair,
Aye.
just for, Madam Chair, guys, just for formality though, we should have a question and then we would have a go to the vote. So just for future reference. Go ahead.
What question?
No, for any vote though, for parliamentary procedures, after we make a motion in a second, then we will go ask if there are any questions. And then if there are no questions, we will go to the vote. Just for future reference, that's all.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay. So everybody in favor, with the agenda say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, so the agenda is approved. Then we move on to the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review that?
I just had one addition, I think, in the portion that talks about under commissioner communication and harassment. I do think that Commissioner Boyd reported that we had met and that there is a mediation effort that is in the works. And I do think that the minutes should reflect that. It can be just a mention of that, but I do think it should be reflected because she did make that report. Would you agree, Ethelene?
Yes.
So we need to add that.
Under what section of it?
It's under the commissioner communication and harassment section. And it's where you have in there that I think Mike had talked with the city administrator and was told he needed to submit a formal email, and he planned to do that day. And I think it came through in the meeting a little disjointed because I think Ethelene had actually reported on that sometime earlier, but she did make that report. So, and I think it could be just as simple as, Commissioner Boyd reported the committee had met and has engaged a mediation team to attempt to resolve the matter of commissioner communication with staff or something along those lines. Does that sound okay, Ethelene?
Yep. Okay.
Thanks.
And just looking at the minutes again, new business, letter B, we're gonna have to do the vote for the salary again, since, and I don't know if this is the place to kind of like bring this up, but since I was looking at the agenda, I thought I'd say that since department heads are not on a STEP program, what we voted on technically does not hold anything, and so we're going to have to do it again.
I'm not sure I understand what.
Last meeting we voted on increasing Latrice's salary based on the next step, whatever that is. But given that department heads in the city does not go on a STEP program, but they are given merit increases in their evaluation, we technically approved, a salary increase based on a step that did not exist.
Madam Chair, what I would suggest that we do, we will move to that item and where we're going to speak to the agenda. We voted on this here process last meeting to give her an increase. If it's something that is incorrect, then we will have to address that on an agenda item.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just bringing up that it needs to be done again. So
it will have to be clearly articulated, and so anyway, let's move on for right now.
Okay, was there a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move that we accept the minutes as read with the necessary corrections.
Okay.
Everybody in favor in approving the minutes with the necessary corrections, say aye or raise their hand.
Any questions?
I did ask if there are any questions.
I didn't hear that.
Okay. Nobody said anything. So everybody in favor, say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so the minutes are approved with the corrections. And then we move on to the director's report for July.
Okay, we've had some fair housing issues that have come up in the community this month. Maybe I'll talk more about those in a minute. So for the push out meeting, we had another event last month. We have another one coming up tomorrow over in Moline. We're starting the events now at 7:30, just so that it can be a bit darker. The last one, we had a really good discussion about racial trauma and the impact of policing in schools. The Civil Rights Specialist and I attended the annual FIPA conference. It was done virtually this year, obviously because of COVID. We're working on our next event for the disability status stigma, both for fair housing and employment. We are thinking we're going to continue to do those virtually just because of the pandemic. Continuing to monitor the pandemic and the impact that it has on the office. There was a proclamation issued by the governor for the pandemic relating to meetings, electronic meetings, and that expired on July 25th. And there was not an extension of that, but we can still have electronic meetings as long as we're following the Iowa Code 21.8. So as long as we're still giving people access to the meeting, we can still continue to have remote meetings. The vaccination rates are still different on the CDC website and Iowa Department of Public Health website, but we are listed in a high transmission area, and Rock Island is a substantial transmission area. And with the Delta variant being a bit more contagious than the original strain, it's becoming a bit more dangerous for folks. And so we are still requiring masks in our office and still continuing to kind of limit in-office staffing and not interacting, not opening to the public to come in and out. We are scheduling and planning a push out book discussion with the library in conjunction with the movie discussion, so that we can have kind of a more expansive discussion on it. We're working with some teachers to see if they can lead the discussion on that so that they can kind of have that firsthand knowledge of what the experiences are and the disparate treatment for students in school. So the housing analyst and civil rights specialist, along with Commissioners Dester and Boyd, attended the ADA conference. From what I heard, everybody said it was good. There were apparently a couple of people there who had COVID, so there was some exposure with that. But other than that, I think everybody thought that the information was really useful and it was a helpful conference. Going back, I guess, to the issue with housing, I don't know if you all have been following the stories in the paper about a couple of rental housing complexes being pushed towards condemnation, I guess. I think one of them actually was condemned and ordered vacated, and the other one was at risk of that. And the concerns associated with that for the people who were renting units there. So we've been contacted by a few community advocates who've been working with some of the tenants at those properties, and they want to have a broader discussion of what the commission can do to help them in pushing for some sort of substantive change in procedures for the city of Davenport. I guess as background, there were a couple of properties that were in a state of disrepair, and apparently the city had been citing the property for a couple of years for deficiencies. And then as we're nearing the end of the eviction moratorium, and the tenants or the property owner was notified that they had to make the repairs or they had to vacate or the premises be vacated. So the tenants were roughly given 30 days notice. They didn't have the 2 years of notice that the property owner did. This was a potential issue. And so they were given roughly about 30 days notice to vacate, which was not enough time for people who are on a limited income or who need affordable housing, and we currently have an inadequate supply of affordable housing. We're also in an area where people are unemployed due to COVID. They're underemployed, and this is right before school starts. So it created a huge amount of upheaval in the lives of the people who were impacted. One aspect of where the commission obviously fits in is the fair housing aspect of it. If from my understanding, a large majority of the tenants were racial minorities, people with disabilities, and female-led households. So there's 3 different protected classes under our ordinance. And so if there is an action that is disproportionately impacting certain protected classes under the Fair Housing Act, that could be a disparate impact claim. There were tenants in these properties who were receiving Section 8. So, even though they're technically portable, obviously we've seen in Iowa, there has been a push to ban source of income protection. And so landlords are free to deny people who are getting Section 8, which limits the availability of housing for people who are receiving those vouchers. And then it brings up the question of whether the city was complying with their contract with HUD, because there is a requirement with the city acting as kind of like the public housing authority or as the public housing authority. There's a requirement to make inspections, and there is a requirement that they take prompt action to make sure that the owner is complying with the contract as a condition of them receiving this federal funding from HUD flowing through the city. And it appears that they continue to pay this up until June of 2021. So it's kind of like a failure to comply with the obligations of the city's HUD contract. But then also just kind of a fairness aspect for the tenants and how they were impacted by this action. One of the advocates sent over a list of things that they would like to see the city do to address kind of the failures that happen in this scenario to make sure that they don't happen again. And another one I see is on the line for the meeting. So I know we have a closed session, so I did mention that we could maybe move closed session up. Not move closed session up, move closed session back, let the public comment before the commission goes into closed session to review the decision. The recommendations that are given from the other community member via email, I'll send out to everybody after the meeting, but they kind of just want to go over it so that it wouldn't be a random email that you received and you didn't know what was going on with it. For the ongoing bullying and harassment of commission staff, there were some comments made in the newspaper last month after the meeting that I guess I will work with the team on having those addressed. And as a part of the public information board complaint that I submitted to for the failure to respond to my open records request, the response that was given was that members of the public are not required to use the city's Just FOIA system if they want to submit an open records request, and that the city clerk is the public records custodian pursuant to the ordinance, which is the same thing that I've said, but the city attorneys have previously argued that the only way that they would respond to an open records request is if it's submitted through the city's Just FOIA portal. So there is varying responses received there from them on that aspect of it. And we didn't have any cases that resolved in mediation or conciliation, and we didn't have any right to sue letters issued last month. And I think that's it that we have going on. Sorry to try to rush through that. I know we have a limited amount of time here when we get the closed session wrapped up.
Do we get the newspaper in our office daily?
No, we do see the articles when they come across online, though.
It might be a good thing to get the daily paper. You know, the housing, the information that's pursuant to things on our interests and our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a thought. I usually call in when I see an article, but I've not been. I'm thinking about canceling my paper, so.
Is there anything else on this? Is that it, Latrice?
Oh, yeah. I thought I said that was it.
Yeah. So no other questions?
I just had a question. I have not received it myself, but I hear that the annual report has been mailed out, and thank you very much for that, Madam Director. But I noticed on the city website that our last published annual report is for 2017. Do you know how soon our annual reports are getting uploaded to the website?
We don't have access to upload things to the website.
But I mean, do you deliver them to the city and ask that they be uploaded, and then it should happen?
No, we should have access to it to upload it.
So you don't provide it to the city?
We send it out to the mayor and council.
Well, I'm just trying to see if there's a way that we can get it on the website. How would you propose that happen?
I mean, if somebody wants an electronic copy of it, we can send it to them.
Well, do other commissioners feel that it's important to have it on the website?
To have our annual report on the
To have it
website.
on, yeah.
I guess if it's been on there before, I mean, they could update it for us. I mean, whoever's got that job in there, I don't know, but it would be nice, I suppose, if we move up to 2021.
Well, I just think members of the public looking at the website, do you think, I mean, it just doesn't look good to not have the annual reports on the city website, seems to me, on our page of the city website.
Oh.
Could I add a point?
Sure.
I'm not, maybe I missed it, and then that's my fault, but when I got it, I thought, did we review this in our meeting? So I would say that before issuing the annual report, we ought to review it ourselves to make sure we're all on the same page.
Well, I would move that our annual reports be submitted to the city for inclusion on our page on the city website.
We wouldn't be making a motion on something that's not on the agenda.
Let's go
Then
ahead. Go ahead,
on the web.
Janelle.
Let's put it on the agenda for next month. Okay?
What was that, Janelle? The
Getting the annual
report into the
annual
website.
report on, yeah, so that if you would please add that to next month's agenda.
And I don't know, this is just a question. Do annual reports need to be approved by the commission first before getting it out, or no? I don't know how others do it.
I would say maybe we could take that up at the time at next month's meeting when we discuss the matter.
Okay. Okay. I got this.
Make sure we talk about the process of having access to the website as well for uploading that document. So we need to talk about the whole process. So I agree that it should be out there. So.
Okay. right, so any other question on the director's report? No. Everybody.
I move the-
say, oh, go ahead, Janelle.
I move the acceptance of the director's report.
So second by Mike. So everybody in favor, say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so the director's report for the month of July 2021 is approved. And then we move on to new business.
Were we gonna have the public speak earlier or not? Or,
Yeah, kind of switch it.
I mean, I don't know if
So I guess moving the agenda around.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, do we want to do the public comment now?
I think that would be fine if there are members of the public who are present who wouldn't want to wait during a closed meeting.
So
Guys, the only thing that I'm not speaking against the public speaking here. I guess my question is the public speaking as a result of what we cover? I guess since it's a closed meeting, I guess we're not going to be covering anything. So disregard anything I said. So.
Okay. So are we okay with having the public comment right now?
Fine with it.
Okay, so if there's any member of the public who would want to address the commission?
Are you going to resume after your closed meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to come back.
Yes. But just so I'm not sure if, everybody would want to wait, for that or.
I can leave my computer on.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like to address the commission. So, hi, my name is Maya Hernandez. I'm an organizer with Quad Cities Interfaith, and I've been working directly with the tenants at Crestwood who were at the condemned apartments and received the eviction notice. And so, I saw firsthand a lot of what, was happening with the city letting the owner know about either the repairs or, having to vacate back in 2019, whereas the tenants only got the 30-day notice. And so, with specifically the city knew about what was going to happen, and they were aware that the possibility of, hundreds of these tenants being displaced was possible. And so, my question is, now that this happened, it doesn't seem to be a lot of, movement from the city and or county to prevent something like this from happening again. And so, I wanted to bring up what the commission could do in order to support, either ordinances recommended by the public to the city council that would either, depending on what the details are of an ordinance, but, prevent a landlord from either taking rent if they're not, making repairs, or, also, what can the city do if they say that, well, we were trying to inspect the building, but I mean, I don't know if saying we're trying to inspect the buildings and the landlord wasn't letting us do it is a good enough excuse to not inspect the buildings and letting people, live there until the very end when they're giving very little notice to do anything about it. And then that's when the city's putting its foot down saying, no, we're not going to give any more extensions to this. We give enough extensions to the landlord, not to the tenants. And so, what can the commission do? Because, most of these tenants are, Black or minorities. And so, and there was, quite a bit of a struggle trying to find that affordable housing options after having to vacate these apartments. So I wanted to bring that up to the commission. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yes, if anybody else is going to go, I'll go. Dan Audie, Davenport. I don't know exactly what the role of this commission can do about it, but also working with the tenants that are displaced. The behavior of the staff at Salvation Army is horrendous. These people are in a state of crisis, and some of the rude, if not discriminatory behavior, is unacceptable. Not sure what the commission can do, but it is very troubling that they are involved in this process. Talk about it amongst yourself, but it's not good. Thank you.
Mr. Audius, people feel like they've been discriminated against in a public accommodation, they can submit a complaint to the commission.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Ali, another question concerning Salvation Army. So what do you perceive as being rude and out of context with what Salvation is currently saying, or?
Okay, Mike. So, in a couple different incidents, when a third-party advocate, just regular people, get involved, then things seem to happen quicker. I get it. They have guidelines and policies to follow. But when they're being stonewalled, foot dragged, and then when they turn on their Facebook video call and kind of like show who the person is behind the desk, things really move fast then. But up until then, it's frustrating, stonewalling, foot dragging. Not sure what that's all about, but when somebody else advocates, just a regular citizen, on behalf of the tenants, things seem to happen. Like they answer the phone and then the individual hands it to the tenant. And that's one of the only ways they were able to get in. I don't think it's Salvation Army, but perhaps they need to be looking at some of their staff people.
Do you have a particular staff person name, or we just vaguely?
I don't, but I could ask.
If we have a staff name, it's very easily to zero in on that process versus, I guess, just totally landed on the Salvation Army as a generality, if, for lack of another word there. But I think I understand what you're saying, so thanks.
I can try to get that information for you, Mr. Guster, if that's appropriate.
I'm going to look into some of that when I get back anyway. So if you get a name, you can email. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public? No? Okay. So we can, if there's nobody else, we can move on to new business. This H0023000719 case.
Okay, I need a motion to go into closed session first.
So I so move that we go into a closed session to discuss case number H0023-007-19. I'm sorry.
I second the motion.
Okay. Okay, and I've got the time as 12:47. And then I just need those that are in favor to say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And anybody opposed to going into closed session? Okay, then at 12:47, pursuant to Iowa Code 21.51F, and upon the motion by Commissioner Guster, seconded by Commissioner Boyd, and with all commissioners present and voting yes, the commission will move into closed session to discuss the filing of a commission-initiated complaint and provide updates on pending litigation H0023-00719.
You have been added to the waiting room. You cannot talk or listen until the host admits you to the meeting.